Anyone that's ever played a live gig knows that if you're going to be playing guitar, you got to be able to control your amp with your feet. It's just simple physics. So in this video, we're going to be talking about how to use the 11 rack and connected foot controllers in a live situation. The 11 rack is able to be controlled via both MIDI and also anything plugged into its foot switch jack. So the foot switch jack on the back panel basically has two functions. First thing you can do is connect two momentary foot switches to it and then set them to things like tuner on and off, tap tempo delay, or patch changes. Or you can do what we're going to be doing here, which is connecting a continuous control pedal and setting it to do things like rig or volume or wah. So let's look at how you do that on the 11 rack. Okay, now we're looking at the front panel of the 11 rack, and if you want to look inside and look at the architecture to see what pedals are loaded and what amps are loaded, you just hit this button, and now you're looking at the entire signal chain, much like a pedal board. And the pedal control is over on the far right when it's connected to the jack on the back. So any continuous control pedal plugged into the jack on the back can basically do one of four things. It can be a volume pedal, as it is right now. It can be rig volume. It can be wah, or multi-effects. Now, multi-effects is something kind of cool. It allows you to chain up to 4 different parameters to the pedal at once, which means you could do something like having the reverb level and the distortion level tied to the pedal at the same time. So when you turned up the distortion, it would turn down the reverb to clean it up for crunch passes. Very, very cool feature. Now let's set it to wah-wah. We have 2 different wah models inside the box. There is a Shine wah, which is modeled off of a more recent boutique-y kind of a wah-wah, and also the 95, which is the classic wah-wah that most of us are familiar with. So I've got it set to wah. You hear my amp is up, and now I can be funky. The greatest thing about this is that this wah pedal will never get dirty. Anyone that's played a gig and had enough beer spilled in a pedal will know it's a problem. Whether it's a wah-wah pedal, or volume pedal, or whether it's your rig pedal, it's a pedal that will never get dirty because all the controls are in here, not there, which is cool. So that is controlling a 11 rack patch with the continuous controller pedal. Let's move on to the MIDI stuff. As I mentioned a moment ago, you can also use MIDI control pedals with the 11 rack as well. So I've got it set up right now to do MIDI patch changes and also some continuous controller latch on-offs for all of my individual effects modules. So to look at the MIDI controls in the 11 rack, they're in the Preferences page. So we can get to them simply by holding down the Preferences button for 2 seconds. Now we've got it set to MIDI, so I can just click there to drill into the controls. So we have a couple things here. You can turn the output jack, the MIDI output, into a through jack, if you'd like. And you also have this little button for CC on and off. And what that basically does is it determines whether or not the 11 rack will send continuous control messages up to Pro Tools when you're recording. So if you have a MIDI track open and it's recording, it might actually record the continuous control data you're doing here, and you might not like that. So you can certainly turn off the CC button there. And down at the bottom, probably the most important, is the channel. So I'm going to set it to be Omni. Basically, listen to everything MIDI that comes to this box and respond to it, please. That's what I'm basically asking it. Pop it back out of here. And now, I have a patch here on the floor on my MIDI controller that is going to send not only a patch change, but also a continuous control change at the same time. So when I switch to this patch, you're going to see that it will also turn off the effects loop. So here we go. Doink. It's turned off the effects loop. We have a completely different sound now. So when I go into continuous controller mode, I've got it set up so I have the ability to turn off and on all of the individual patches or presets or effects inside of the patch. So I can turn on and off the delay. Off. I can turn on the modulation. I can turn off and on the fuzz. The thing to get about this is that you can create a patch that is basically enough for almost the whole song, simply by turning on a distortion pedal for the chorus or turning on a delay for the solo or something like that. It's very flexible. So in a live environment, there's nothing quite like using this to set up a bunch of tunes in one fell swoop. So if I go back to that sound we had before, now I've got the ability to play my whales again. So hopefully that's given you an idea of how easy it is to use foot control with the 11 rack in a live environment. It's pretty cool and it's really flexible.